The mystery of the blue blood in the Bible, how the geneticist God shaped humanity. The geneticist God and blue blood. In a world where the boundaries between myth and reality blur, where legends intertwine with scientific truths, one question always remains in the air: how deeply can the roots and blood of our ancestors influence our destiny? The Geneticist God and the Blue Bloods is more than an intriguing title. It is an invitation to a journey deep into human history, into the essence of our genetic being, and into the endless mysteries of divine creation. This story begins with a curious observation about the extreme care that the biblical deity shows for his elect, and especially for the perpetuation of their bloodline. It is not just about the impressive number of concubines or the strategic matrimonial alliances, but about a genetic preselection aimed at preserving certain essential traits. Blood, this vital fluid that circulates through our veins, although it appears identical on the surface, hides unique DNA codes, histories of our past, and the key to our genetic future. In the biblical context, we see how God directs his elect to near incestuous unions with the express purpose of maintaining the purity of the bloodline. From Tobit urging his son to choose a wife from among his own tribe, to the complexities of the relationships between Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, each story reveals a divine obsession with blue blood, with those genetic traits that define not just a people, but an entire divine inheritance. But what does this blue blood actually mean? Is it a symbol of nobility, purity, or, on the contrary, of isolation and genetic stagnation? This metaphor finds its roots in the historical realities of marriages between members of the same royal family, practiced to preserve power and wealth within a small group. In the Bible, however, the concept takes on a spiritual and biological dimension, suggesting that God's elect were to retain certain specific blood-borne characteristics. Incest, a major taboo in modern societies, was perceived differently in the divine context. The stories of Lot and his daughters, or Amram's marriage to Jochebed, his aunt, to give birth to Moses, are biblical examples of how human ethical standards can be suspended when greater divine plans are at stake. As we explore these narratives, fundamental questions arise about morality, the role of genetics in human destiny, and how we interpret divine will in the modern context. The Genetic God and Blue Bloods challenges us to look beyond the sacred texts, examine the science behind the myths, and ask how much of who we are is determined by the blood that flows through our veins. This journey into the depths of our genetic and spiritual identity is more than mere historical reconstruction or theological analysis. It is a dialogue between past and present, between science and spirituality, between destiny and free choice. As we unravel the mystery of blue blood and the genetic God, we discover not only the secrets of our ancestors, but also the infinite possibilities of our future. In this maze of genetics and faith, each answer brings us closer to understanding our place in the grand divine plan and in the complexity of life itself. A very curious thing in the Holy Writing is the extreme care that the biblical God had for the people who led his people when they had to have followers. For God, it never mattered the impressive number of concubines they had, but the person who had to give them offspring with a certain genetic trait. For this reason, the leaders had to make matrimonial alliances within their own families with extremely close relatives. This was extremely important to God, because his chosen ones did not have to lose certain genetic traits. The most important genetic trait of a person is the blood, which, although looks identical to all living things on earth, has unique characteristics for each of them. No human has the same DNA as another human. Everyone has a unique DNA. That's why in judicial investigations, the most important evidence to identify someone is the DNA test. The bloodline is one of the most important when you want to obtain breeds with exceptional characteristics. The Bible abounds with stories in which God himself forces his chosen ones to marry relatives of the first or second degree. For example, half-brothers, first cousins, daughters with their own fathers, or nephews with aunts. For this reason, the gatherings between close relatives could generate new genetic traits for the countering of a separate race, which the geneticist God wanted to obtain. In the book of Tobit, he explains to his son Tobias how God not only agrees with incestuous sexual unions, but orders all the chosen ones to return to the bosom of the family. Beware, my son, of all debauchery. You shall take a wife from your father's tribe, and you shall not take a foreign wife, for we are sons of prophets. Our ancient fathers are Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that they all took wives from among their brothers, and were blessed in their sons, and their descendants will inherit the earth. Do you understand who will inherit the earth? Those with blue blood, not all idiots with broken knees standing in the goat position. It seems to me a boundless hypocrisy to force certain people to marry people so close in terms of the degree of kinship, and then to murder the inhabitants of two cities of great importance, like Sodom and Gomorrah, on the grounds that they are pervert sexual. Please, nothing surprises me anymore with the Christian leader, who imposes his law by force, but only on those who broke his balls. In the lines below, I will delight you with the most vile and treacherous ways in which the Creator orders his subjects to come together to form the chosen hybrids for his holy people. I will start with Abraham. Avram settled in the town of Gerar. The king of this place, Abimelech, takes his wife Sarai and takes her home, with the intention of making a love match. He did not know that she was also his wife, because Abraham had told him that she was his sister. God draws Abimelech's attention to the fact that he is doing something he does not like. The king takes the woman from where he took her because he understood that Abraham is her husband. When he takes Sarai back, he indignantly asks her husband why she lied to him. Abraham answered him, Genesis 11-12, I said to myself, probably there is no fear of God in these places, and they will kill me because of my wife, but she is really my sister, my father's daughter, but not my mother's daughter mine. And she became my wife. You see, besides the fact that he is a hypocrite, Abraham is the one whom God considers a victim, even though he is the one who lied to a man who never meant him harm. Another example that is impossible to accept, due to the moral laws imposed on the crowd by the mob, happens with Lot, Abram's grandson, and his two daughters. After the destruction of Sodom, the city where Lot lived, he and his daughters escaped from the Holocaust with the help of God. Happy that they survived, they take refuge in a cave in the Zoar Mountains. The days pass, and Lot's daughters realize that all the people had been killed by God along with their fortresses and settlements. The biblical story wants us to believe that Lot's daughters think they will be left without heirs, and then they decide to get their old father drunk to sleep with him. But the truth is completely different. Lot's daughters want to have children who will carry in their veins the blue blood of their father and grandfather. Genesis 33-34, and they made their father drunk with wine that night, and the eldest daughter went in to sleep with him, and he did not feel when he went to bed or when she got up. And the second evening the older one said to the younger one, This is how I slept with my father last night. Let's get him drunk this night too, and you two go in and sleep with him so that we can raise up descendants of our father. You see, the girls are proud that they will have offspring exactly from their father, who had something that the geneticist God had put in his body. The children conceived by them became the leaders of very important peoples, Moabites and Ammonites. For their heinous act, God does not punish them as he usually did with the mob. He does not order the crowd to throw stones at them, nor does he assassinate them on the spot, nor is he displeased by this behavior. On the contrary, he tells Lot's daughters that he will make sure that their sons become important people. Another strange marriage is that of Abraham's son Isaac. As usual, and this time, the creative hypocrite is the one who decides the degree of kinship that Isaac will have with his wife. Avram, like any lingo of the Lord, does not take into account how many people from the people were assassinated due to sexual relations of this kind, but the orders that had to be respected. Thus, when the time comes for Isaac to marry, Abraham sends his servant to look for a wife from his family, that is, the daughter of his brother Nahor. Then Abraham said to the oldest servant in his house, who was in charge of all, he said, Put your hand under my thigh and swear to me by the Lord God of heaven and the God of earth that you will not take a wife for my son Isaac from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I live, the Lord God of heaven and God of earth, the one who gave me taken from my father's house and from the land where I was born, who spoke to me and who swore to me, saying, I will give this land to you and to your descendants. He will send his angel before you, and you will take my son's wife there. Then the servant took with him 10 camels of his master's camels, and all kinds of precious things of his master's, and he got up and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he said, Lord God of my master Abraham, put it out of my way today, and have mercy on my master Abraham. But he had not yet finished thinking these things in his mind, when behold, Rebekah, the virgin who had been born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with a pitcher on her shoulder. After that I bowed down and worshipped the Lord, and I blessed the Lord God of my master Abraham, who instructed me rightly to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. With Jacob, the son of Isaac, history repeats itself, only that he must marry one of the daughters of his mother's brother, Laban. He falls in love with his uncle's youngest daughter, but as the younger one could not marry before the older one, tricked by his uncle, he marries both of his daughters. Genesis 1-2, Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and commanded him, saying, Do not take a wife from the daughters of the Canaanites, but get up and go to Mesopotamia to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife for yourself from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Then getting up, Jacob went to the land of the sons of the east, to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Aramean and the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. While he was still talking with the shepherds, Rachel, Laban's daughter, came with her father's sheep, for she was tending her father's sheep. Jacob, seeing Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel and raised his voice and wept. And Laban said to him, You are of my bones and of my flesh. But Laban had 2 daughters, the older one was named Leah, and the younger one was named Rachel. Leah was sick with her eyes, and Rahel was handsome in stature and very beautiful as a girl. But Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel, your youngest daughter. And Jacob served for Rachel 7 years, and it seemed to him only a few days, because he loved her. Then Jacob said to Laban, Give me the woman, because my days are over to go in with her. In the evening Laban took his daughter Leah and put her inside, and Jacob went in with her. But when the day came, there was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, Why have you done this to me? Did I not serve him for Rachel? Why did you cheat on me? Laban's answer, Here in our country it is not mentioned that the youngest girl should be married before the eldest. Complete this wedding week and I'll give you that too, for the job you'll do for me for another 7 years. And Jacob did this. He completed the wedding week and gave Laban and Rachel, his daughter, as his wife. Another strange marriage is that of Judas, the founder of the tribe of Judas, where the biblical Jesus has his origins. In the story below, we must note 2 important aspects. The first refers to the fact that families with several siblings had to submit to a shameful and embarrassing tradition. If one of the older brothers married but had no children and fate caused him to die, then his younger brother had to marry his own sister-in-law. The sons they made were considered the sons of the dead, not the sons of the living brother and his sister-in-law. The second aspect, just as bad as the first, is that the first woman who does the oldest job on earth, prostitution, appears in the Bible and is the daughter-in-law of Judas. As I will prove to you further, all the laws, the customs, the way to behave and to obey, are God's commands. The earthly world perpetuates them forever, believing that this is the correct and unique way to behave. But let's take a closer look at this story in which the blood relation is extremely important for the descendants who were supposed to become leaders. Judah, separated from his 11 brothers, got married, and from this marriage 3 sons were born to him, Er, Onan, and Selah. When the time came for the elder to get married, he married a girl named Tamar. Unhappiness causes her husband, Er, to die very young without leaving any descendants. Judah marries Onan, his middle son, to his older brother's widow so that he can generate offspring for his dead brother. Only like Onan, Genesis 38-9, knowing that the offspring will not be his when he enters his brother's wife, he pours the seed down so as not to raise offspring for his brother. Unfortunately, this son of Judah also dies, and Tamar is still left without descendants. Judah finds himself forced to free the girl by sending her back to his parents until his youngest son grows up so that he can marry her to him. But time passes and Judah does not keep his promise to his former daughter-in-law. Seeing that she cannot have sons, Tamar puts a veil on her head, dresses up as a prostitute, prevents her father-in-law, and, taking advantage of the fact that she could not be recognized, sleeps with him, asking him to pay for her chieftaincy ring. People see that in time, Tamar's belly started to grow, and they inform Judah that his daughter-in-law is pregnant. He calls her to him to explain how this happened, but she proves to him that the child she was carrying in her womb is his, with the help of the ring. Happy with what he hears, Judah says, Acts 38-26, Tamar is smarter than I, because I did not give her to my son Selah as a wife. But even God's beloved Moses came from a strange marriage. His parents were both priests, popes, from the tribe of Levi. Father Amram married his aunt Jochebed, from whom he had Moses. Exodus 6-20, but Amram married Jochebed, his uncle's daughter, and she bore Aaron and Moses, as well as Miriam, their sister. All these biblical characters are some of the best known and most loved by the Lord. All are people chosen, guided, and taught by him personally. Not one was punished for the deeds he did against the laws given by him. Marriages between brother and sister, between first cousins, between father and daughter, or between daughter-in-law and father-in-law, between nephew and aunt were punishable by death if those who performed them were not chosen by God. Why? Because from then until today those who led us have blue blood in their veins, alien blood, and they could not mix with the blood of ordinary people. This connection of blue blood is maintained from antiquity to the present day because the so-called blue blood is a special blood. Those chosen by the biblical God are in fact hybrid beings, resulting from the crossing of different species, or they were laboratory experiments as they are done today. Precious people were those who had particular genetic traits to reproduce and create new, genetically modified bodies. All the biblical heroes whose sonorous names are repeated for entire generations are actually the characters with the highest ranks of those times. These models of goodness and virtue are in reality sons of kings, popes, often even sons of gods. They are all skilled fighters, trained from infancy at the royal courts where they were heirs to the thrones. They achieved great victories because they were helped by God and his garrison in person. Before the battle, God teaches him the battle plan and the most advantageous military strategy for obtaining victory. This is one of the reasons why they knew who would win the fight even before it started. God also gave them the battle plan and the most powerful military technology. Who could have resisted the advanced and destructive military technology of the good God?